What's going on, guys? I got a project that I've been putting off for a while, and I wanted to check off my list. If you can see there on my workbench, I got an elk skull and some random material pieces. I'm going to attempt to make a mount for that elk skull. So I'm starting off with some scrap ash I have from a project that I'm currently working on. And I'm just going through the steps and processes of milling it up a little bit so that I can cut it down into strips to make a mosaic background. So I kind of let this project tell me what it wants to be as I was going along. I cut these strips into 1/4 inch thick pieces, and they're about 1.5 to 2 inches wide. And I'm not going to do anything crazy because I want the skull to obviously be the masterpiece here. But I take a piece of 1/2 inch ply to be able to adhere all those strips to here in a moment. Nothing crazy. And the reason why I'm doing such a thin piece of plywood is because of the metal that I'll use in the future. Now, I'm sure if you watch other people do mosaics on the internet, they do crazy, intricate designs. I'm doing the most basic design that I could think of. And then after I prep my board, I cut all my pieces, and I'm just cutting 45 so that I can make my design. And then once I'm done cutting all these pieces, I'm going to router over the edges, and I'm just going to put a bevel on them to kind of give it some depth. Now, I'm sure that when you watch this process, all the safety police are going to want to come out and tell me my fingers are close, this is dangerous, all those things. I'm very aware. I was paying attention. Yes, I probably should have used some sort of jig or something to not get my fingers so close, but I was paying attention, and I like triggering people, I guess. Once I had all these beveled and done, I had to go back and sand everything. There was a bunch of burn marks from cutting them on the table saw and whatnot. That took a little bit of time because there's a bunch of pieces. But once they were sanded and ready to go, I'm ready to get them glued onto the board. And the thing about doing any type of wood art or mosaic is that if you want it to look right, you actually have to, line your pieces up. So you can see that I drew on that backboard, but I still use a square to get things lined up before I get going so that they actually look right when you put them together. So I just start with a couple pieces there, and then I will just put wood glue on it, and I'm able to go a little bit quicker because everything will butt into those pieces here in a moment. So something to know about this skull mount is that it's not for me. I bought that skull on the side of the road one day at work for my son, and he's just had it sitting in his room on a shelf for the last couple of years. And anytime I want to make something for one of my family members, I actually want to put some thought into it. And so things will kind of sit and stew for a long time before I finally go, I'm ready to make that, because I want to make it right, and I want to make it the best that I possibly can. So I have always liked doing wood art pieces, and so this gives me the opportunity to do a wood art piece, but I don't want it to take away from the main thing, which again is that elk skull. So I did a simple design here, just butting 45s together and making this, triangle-ish pattern. I don't know what to call it, but it's basic. And I used some ash wood that has enough character that it looks cool, but in the long run it won't matter because I'm just going to stain it all black. But it'll be one of those things that if you're looking up at it closely, it will pop and it will look cool. And yeah, those are the things. So once it's done, I had to cut all the excess off So originally I thought about leaving the wood natural, but again, I don't want the wood to take away from what is the actual purpose of this, and that is the skull itself. So then I said, let's go black, because I made his bed a couple years ago, and it was a black dye. And so here I used black Indian ink instead, because I wanted it to be a really rich black. Dye would have been better. I would have been able to get it into those crevices better, but the Indian ink worked, and it looks really good when it's all done. So next I'm making a metal frame for that mosaic to go into. So I'm using some angle iron that I have, and I'm just using material that I had on hand. I didn't really want to purchase much for this, not because there wasn't any value to buying material for it. I have a lot of stuff that I can use. So this is I think it's 1 inch or maybe even 3/4 angle, and just basic cutting 45s to make a frame, prepping it to weld it together. Some things that I wish I would have thought about probably before is how I was going to actually get these 45s to stick. I don't have like a professional welding table. So I got some magnets, I squared it up, and I just tack welded to keep it square. And then I go back and I weld it together. It worked out. Again, this didn't have to be some crazy super square piece. It is just going to hang on the wall, but I wanted it to, still look right when you looked at it. So weld all the corners, go back and we grind it. And I got a new welder that has changed welding for me. It's just a better welder. So I'm more excited to weld projects together because I know they're going to stick and they're going to look more right. And I know other welders will probably tear my work apart, which is fine, but it's better for me. Anyways, once the frame's done, I cut a couple straps to pin the mosaic into that frame. So these are just, some metal straps that you'll see here in a second that I use to weld the mosaic into that frame. So there's the mosaic all done. It nests in that frame. And then I just put these straps on the back. I use a couple clamps to kind of push it down in and just tack it into place. This is never going to be anything other than a backdrop, so I'm not concerned about ever removing it. That's just not a thing that I see happening. But once I was done with this part of it, I needed to figure out how to actually mount the skull to it. And I looked online, I saw a couple different ideas, and I made my own little mount here. So I just got a piece of 1/4-inch steel, and I take a railroad spike that I weld onto it that the skull should slide over. And again, I had no idea what I was doing. This was actually just a test that worked out for the best. If I was to do it again, I would have probably put that spike at just a slight angle so that when the skull goes on it, it would have more of an angle to sit on versus being straight up and down like I made it. But as I said, it was a test that actually worked. And you'll see here in a moment what I mean by it works. So there's that piece, and off camera I cut off the tip of that because it was too long. So there you go, you see that it's gone. I put the skull on here off camera to kind of get my height of where I thought that needed to be. And here I am just centering everything. I just use some small lag screws to bolt that sucker on there. And all this is going to get covered. Like once the skull's on it, this all goes away. So if you're looking at that metal bracket like it's super ugly, I'm very aware. But you'll never see it except for when you take the skull off. So there's what it is. There's that mosaic. There's that metal frame, that industrial look that I love. I'm just finishing everything off with a poly. And so I need to get back to using my spray gun. I don't know why I keep just using a brush, but I think I just need to clean my spray gun. Anyways, I just brushed this finish on. Nothing crazy. I did a couple different layers on it after I showed this one to build up the finish. And so this was the one thing that I did buy, was this hangman bracket to put on the wall. I wanted it to be up against the wall as much as possible, and I've used these in the past, and this is exactly what I planned on, was this hangman French cleat. You could buy these at any hardware store, I think. I always just go to the one at the end of the road to get mine, and you can just put this anywhere. You don't need a stud. That's like a huge thing for me, is I can just put this anywhere. So here I am screwing it into the wall. Here I am putting the art piece on the wall, and then there you see that skull. It just slides right over that bracket that I made, or hook, and there you go. Very, very cool piece. He was very happy when I got it done. I hung this while he was away, so I like how it turned out. And if you liked this project, please do all the things: like, follow, share, comment. I have more projects coming up. Until then, guys, cheers.